The sniper's bullet shattered the church window 3 seconds before Kestrel Voss threw herself into the freezing Moldovan River. Blood from her shoulder wound painted crimson trails in the water as she fought against the current, her encrypted hard drive sealed in a waterproof case clutched against her chest like a prayer. "You're going to die in there," called the voice from the opposite bank deep, accented with something she couldn't place. A man emerged from the shadows of the birch trees, tall and lean with silver-streaked hair that caught the moonlight. "Better than dying on land," she gasped, her strength failing as hypothermia set in. The water was pulling her under, and the case containing 5 years of evidence against the syndicate felt like an anchor, without hesitation. The stranger plunged into the river. His movements were fluid, practiced, as if he'd been born in water. Strong arms encircled her waist, and she felt herself being lifted, carried against a chest that radiated impossible warmth. "I've got you," he murmured, his lips close to her ear. Trust me, she shouldn't have. In her line of work, international cybersecurity consultant by day, digital vigilante by night, trust was a luxury that got people killed. But something in his voice, in the way he held her like she was precious cargo, it made her surrender to unconsciousness. When she woke, she was naked beneath thick furs in a cabin that smelled of wood smoke and something wild. Her wound had been expertly cleaned and bandaged, her clothes hung by a fire that cast dancing shadows on log walls. The hard drive sat on a wooden table untouched. "You didn't look," she said, sensing his presence before she saw him. "It's not my business." The stranger, who introduced himself as Orion Thorn, handed her a mug of something that tasted like honey and lightning. "Hey, though, I'm curious what's worth dying for." She studied his face in the firelight. Weathered, with scars along his jaw, and eyes the color of storm clouds. There was something predatory in his stillness, something that made her pulse quicken for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. Corporate corruption, human trafficking, the kind of secrets that topple governments. She took another sip, feeling warmth spread through her limbs. "What's your story, Orion Thorn? You move like military, but you live like a hermit. Some stories are better left buried." But she was already reading him the way his shoulders tensed when she said his name. The careful distance he maintained, the fact that he'd known exactly where to find medical supplies in the dark. His cabin, this was a safe house. "We're running from something too," she said softly. His laugh was bitter. "Running implies you can escape. Some things follow you wherever you go." Thunder rumbled overhead and rain began to drum against the roof. They were trapped here together, two strangers carrying secrets that could destroy them both. Watched him feed the fire, muscles shifting beneath his shirt. Kestrel realized that for the first time in years, she didn't want to run. Outside, the storm raged. Inside, something far more dangerous was beginning to bloom. 3 days passed in a strange, suspended intimacy. Orion hunted and cooked while her shoulder healed. Kestrel worked on her laptop, occasionally glancing up to find him watching her with an intensity that made her forget to breathe. They talked about everything except the secrets that had brought them here. On the 4th night, she found him standing shirtless by the window, his back a map of scars, some from bullets, others from blades, and one that looked like it had been made by fire. "Beautiful night," she said, joining him. "Shouldn't be out of bed, I've been shot before." She reached out, her fingers barely brushing the largest scar. "Who did this to you?" He caught her hand, his grip gentle but firm. "People who don't forgive mistakes." "What kind of mistakes?" For a long moment he said nothing, then "the kind that get innocent people killed." She turned to face him fully, her hand still trapped in his. "Tell me." "I was a cleaner," he said. "Finally, for the syndicate." The words hit her like a physical blow. She tried to pull away, but he held her fast. "I eliminated problems, witnesses, loose ends." His voice was emotionless, clinical. "I was very good at it." "The syndicate," she could barely breathe. "It's the same organization I've been hunting for 5 years. It's the same people who had your sister killed." "Yes." The confession shattered something inside her. Luna had been investigating the syndicate when she died in what the police called a random mugging. But Kestrel had known better. The encrypted files Luna had sent her just hours before her death had started Kestrel's own investigation? "You knew," she whispered. "You knew who I was when you pulled me from the river. I've been tracking your work for months. It's the ghost in the machine, they called you. You were getting too close? So you were sent to kill me?" Yes. She should have run, should have grabbed her laptop and disappeared into the night. Instead, she found herself searching his face, looking for the man who'd carried her to safety, who'd tended her wounds, who'd watched her sleep with such tenderness. "But you didn't," she said. "No." His thumb traced across her knuckles. "I didn't." "Why?" "Because you were nothing like they said you'd be. They described a cold, calculating terrorist, but you—" He lifted their joined hands, pressing her palm against his chest. "You have fire in your eyes and music in your laugh. You talk to your computer like it's a friend. You cry in your sleep. I don't cry, you do. For your sister, for the victims. You're trying to save, for the world you think you can fix." His free hand came up to cup her face. "I've spent 10 years killing people, but I've never met anyone more alive than you." She leaned into his touch, her resolve crumbling. "Come for you. When they realize you haven't completed the job, let them come. Orion, my real name is Caspian Novak. I was born in Prague. I like coffee black and thunderstorms and the way you bite your lip when you're concentrating." His forehead touched hers. "I've been dead inside for so long, I forgot what it felt like to want to live. I should hate you. Yes, you should." Instead, she kissed him. Soft at first, then desperate, pouring all her confusion and longing into the connection between them. He responded with a hunger that spoke of years of isolation, of a man who'd forgotten how to be touched without violence. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. "This is insane," she whispered. "Completely. We'll probably die. Probably I'm in love with you." "I know." His smile was sad and beautiful. "I'm in love with you too." The syndicate found them at dawn. Kestrel woke too. Caspian's hand over her mouth, his eyes dark with urgency. Through the window, she could see black SUVs surrounding the cabin, figures in tactical gear moving with military precision. "Back exit," he whispered, already pulling on clothes. "Go." But she was already grabbing her laptop and the hard drive. "Not without you, Kes. They're here for me." You can still the front door exploded inward. Caspian shoved her behind the overturned table as bullets shredded the air where they'd been standing. She caught a glimpse of their attackers, 6 men in black, his faces hidden behind masks, moving with the same fluid grace as Caspian Novak. The voice was cultured, speaking with a slight Russian accent. "You disappoint me. 15 years of perfect service, and you throw it all away for a woman?" Caspian's jaw tightened. "Hello, Dmitri. Come out, old friend. Can discuss this like civilized people." "Civilized people don't murder journalists," Dmitri laughed. "You've grown soft?" Caspian. "I knew would have put 3 bullets in her head and called it a day." From their hiding spot, Kestrel was already working. Her fingers flew over the keyboard, hacking into the local cell tower. "If she could just get a signal." "You have something that belongs to us," Dmitri continued. "The ghost's files. Hand them over, and I'll make your death quick." "Counteroffer," Caspian said, his voice deadly calm. "Leave now, and I won't kill all of you." "You and what army?" Caspian smiled, and for the first time, Kestrel saw the killer he'd once been. "I don't need an army." He moved like liquid death. A knife appeared in his hand. She hadn't even seen him draw a hand. He was rolling, cutting, striking. 2 men went down before they could react. A third managed to get a shot off, but Caspian was already behind him, blades sliding between ribs with surgical precision. But there were too many. As Caspian engaged the remaining men, Dmitri flanked around, his weapon trained on Kestrel. "Enough." The Russian's voice cut through the chaos. "One more step, Novak, and your little girlfriend gets her brains redecorated across the wall." Caspian froze, his eyes finding hers. In them, she saw apology, resignation, and something that might have been goodbye. "You always were sentimental," Dmitri said. "It's your weakness." "No," Kestrel said quietly. "It's yours." Her laptop chimed. The upload was complete. 5 years of evidence. Every file on the hard drive streaming live to every major news outlet. In the world, syndicate secrets, their crimes, their network, all of it exposed in real time. Dimitri's face went white. What have you done? My job. She closed the laptop with a snap. The whole world knows about you now. Your bank accounts, your shell companies, your kill orders. It's over, you little. Caspian's knife took him in the throat before he could finish the sentence. In the sudden silence, Kestrel could hear sirens in the distance. The local authorities alerted by the gunfire. The syndicate's remaining men looked at each other uncertainly. Run, Caspian told them, while you still can. They ran, alone again. Caspian turned to her. Blood from a graze on his cheek made him look even more dangerous. You brilliant, crazy woman. Do you realize what you've just done? Ensured we'll never have to run again. She stood, crossing to him. No more secrets. No more hiding. Hey, can't touch us now? We're to public. And if they try? She smiled, her fingers tracing the knife still clutched in his hand. Then I guess I'll have to learn to be as dangerous as you are. The story broke worldwide within hours. Every news channel, every website, every social media platform was ablaze with the leaked documents. The syndicate's vast network of corruption, human trafficking, and murder was laid bare for the world to see. Politicians resigned, CEOs fled the country. Bank accounts were frozen, but Kestrel and Caspian barely noticed. They were too busy trying not to die. Move, Caspian shouted, pulling her behind a concrete barrier as bullets sparked off the pavement. They'd made it to the rendezvous point, an abandoned warehouse in Bucharest, but the syndicate's remaining forces had been waiting. How many? She panted, checking her ammunition. The police had given them both weapons after their testimony, but she was no soldier. 8, maybe 9. He peered around the barrier, his face grim. They're not here to arrest us, Kes. This is a suicide mission? Then we make sure they don't succeed. He looked at her, this woman who'd gone from victim to partner to warrior in the space of a week. Her hair was matted with sweat, her clothes torn. But her eyes held the same fierce determination that had made her hunt the syndicate for 5 years. I never told you about my sister, she said suddenly, reloading with practiced efficiency. Not the whole truth. Now, really. Luna wasn't just investigating the syndicate. She was part of it. Deep cover, trying to bring them down from the inside. Tadea slipped down her cheek. When they found out, they didn't just kill her. They tortured her for days. Caspian's expression darkened. Kes, I know it was you. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Caspian's face went white, his weapon lowering slightly. I know, because I hacked their communication logs. I saw the orders. I saw your confirmation. She was crying now, but her voice remained steady. You killed my sister. Yes. Tell me why I shouldn't put a bullet in you right now. He set down his weapon, his hands raised. Because you're not a killer? Because you're better than me? Because I love you anyway? She laughed bitterly. You think love conquers all? That I can just forgive and forget? No. I think you're going to do what you need to do, and I'm going to let you. The standoff stretched between them, broken only by the sound of approaching footsteps. The syndicate's men were closing in, but neither of them moved. She was pregnant, Kestrel whispered. Luna was pregnant. 3 months, she was going to name the baby after me. Caspian closed his eyes. I know. I was there. Did she say anything? At the end? She said to tell you she was sorry, that she loved you, that she hoped you'd find a way to forgive her for lying about who she was. And you, did you enjoy it? I threw up afterwards. He opened his eyes, meeting her gaze. I quit the next day. Started planning my own death, actually. Then I found out about you, about your investigation. I thought if I could save you, maybe it would balance the scales. Balance the scales. She tasted the words, found them bitter. You think one life equals another? No, I think one life is worth more than another. Yours is worth more than mine. The footsteps were closer now, shouts in Russian. They were out of time. Kes, Caspian said quietly. Whatever you decide, decide fast. She looked at him, this man who'd killed her sister, who'd saved her life, who'd loved her with a desperation that bordered on worship. The man who'd carried her across the river and into a love story that should have been impossible. I hate you, she said. No, I love you. I know that too. We're going to survive this. It's both of us. And then we're going to spend the rest of our lives dealing with what you did together. She picked up her weapon, checked the chamber, together. The first syndicate soldier rounded the corner just as they opened fire. The firefight lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, they were the only ones left standing. Caspian bled from a shoulder wound that matched hers from the river. Kestrel had a graze along her ribs and powder burns on her hands. They stood among the bodies of their enemies, breathing hard, waiting for the next wave. It never came. It's over, he said, almost wondering. They're all dead. The leadership, the infrastructure, the network, it's actually over. No, she said, looking at her laptop screen. It's just beginning. The leaked documents had triggered a domino effect. Governments were falling. International task forces were being formed. The FBI, Interpol, and a dozen other agencies were conducting simultaneous raids across 3 continents. The syndicate's 40-year reign of terror was ending, not with a bang, but with a systematic dismantling. I never thought I'd live to see it, Caspian said. Justice. Consequences. She turned to face him. There's a difference. What happens now? Now we testify. We help put the surviving members in prison. We give the families closure. She closed the laptop. We figure out how to live with what we've done. What I've done, he corrected. You're a hero, Kes. The world knows it. Heroes don't fall in love with killers, don't they? Isn't that what redemption stories are about? She was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the dawn breaking over Bucharest. In the distance, she could hear sirens, not enemies this time, but allies. The cavalry arriving after the battle was won. I have a condition, she said finally. Name it. I want to visit Luna's grave. I want you to come with me. I want you to tell her you're sorry. And then we see if we can build something clean. From all this wreckage, he nodded, understanding flowing between them. This wasn't forgiveness, not yet. This was a choice to try, to see if love could exist alongside truth. If 2 broken people could heal each other without forgetting the wounds. There's something else, she said. The baby. Luna's baby. She didn't lose it when they killed her. She had already given birth. Caspian's face went very still. What? Hidden adoption? False records? I've been trying to track her down for years. She showed him a photograph on her phone, a little girl with Luna's eyes and smile. Her name is Nora. She's 4 years old now, living with a family in Denver. Kes, I want to meet her. I want to be part of her life. If you and I are going to be together, you need to understand that she comes first. Always. He studied the photograph, this child whose mother he'd killed, whose life he'd orphaned before it began. Does she know? About Luna? No, but she will. Someday, and when she does, she'll have questions. About what happened. About why. And I'll answer them, he said quietly, however many times she asks. Even if she hates you. Especially then. The sirens were closer now. In a few minutes, they'd be surrounded by authorities, journalists, investigators. Their private pain would become public testimony. God. But for now, they were alone in the dawn. 2 people who'd found each other in the darkness and chosen to walk toward the light. I love you, she said. I don't know if that's enough, but it's what I have. It's more than I deserve now, she said, taking his hand. It's exactly what you deserve. The question is whether you'll fight for it. He lifted their joined hands to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. For you, for her, for a chance at redemption, I'll fight forever. 2 years later, Kestrel stood in the kitchen of their small house in Vermont, watching through the window as Caspian pushed Nora on the tire swing he'd built for her 6th birthday. The little girl's laughter carried on the autumn breeze, bright and clear as church bells. Higher, Uncle Kaz. Higher, Uncle Kaz. Never Dad's aid. agreed on that. But the title carried its own weight, its own responsibility. He'd earned it through bedtime stories and scraped knees, through patient answers to difficult questions, and the way he looked at Nora like she was made of sunlight. "Mama Kess, come swing with us." Kestrel smiled, drying her hands on a dish towel. Nora had started calling her that 6 months ago after the adoption papers were finalized. The social worker had been skeptical at first, a couple who'd met under violent circumstances. One with a history of military contracting the official story, and another who'd spent years exposing dangerous criminals. But their character references had been impeccable, their love for the child obvious. "In a minute, sweetheart. I'm making cookies." "Oatmeal raisin? Is there any other kind?" She watched Caspian lift Nora from the swing, spinning her around until she shrieked with delight. He'd changed in the past 2 years, softer somehow, but also more solid. The shadows had faded from his eyes, replaced by something that looked like peace. They'd kept their promise to visit Luna's grave. Caspian had knelt in the rain beside the headstone, his voice breaking as he apologized to a woman who couldn't hear him. Kestrel had stood beside him, one hand on his shoulder, the other on the cold marble that bore her sister's name. "I forgive you," she'd whispered that day, the words coming from somewhere deeper than conscious thought. "Not because you deserve it, but because I need to." Since then, they'd built a life together, messy, complicated, but real. Caspian worked as a security consultant, using his skills to protect people instead of hurting them. Kestrel had started a foundation for victims' families, funded by the reward money from the syndicate case. They attended therapy twice a week, sometimes together, sometimes separately. They fought about normal things, whose turn it was to do dishes, whether to get a dog, how to explain to a 6-year-old why some people were bad. "Pizza night tonight?" Caspian asked, carrying Nora into the kitchen. The little girl was covered in grass stains and wearing a grin that could power a small city. "Pizza night," Kestrel confirmed, ruffling Nora's dark hair. "But first, baths. For both of you? Uncle Kaz too?" "Uncle Kaz especially. He's got dirt in his ears." Nora giggled, reaching up to inspect said ears. "Ooh, you're right. I'll have you know this is very distinguished dirt," Caspian said solemnly. "I cultivated it carefully." "What's cultivated mean?" "It means Uncle Kaz is being silly," Kestrel said, kissing his cheek. "Go get cleaned up. I'll call for pizza." As they headed upstairs, Nora's chatter echoing down the hallway, Kestrel allowed herself a moment of quiet gratitude. This wasn't the life she'd planned. She'd expected to spend her years alone, hunting shadows and fighting other people's battles. Instead, she'd found family in the most unlikely places. Her phone buzzed. Text from Agent Morrison at the FBI. "Last syndicate lieutenant sentenced today. Life without parole. It's finally over." She showed the message to Caspian when he returned, hair damp and smelling like soap and little girl shampoo. "How do you feel?" she asked, relieved, scared, grateful. He pulled her close, his arms encircling her waist, like, "I can finally breathe." "Good. Because I have news too." "Oh." She took his hand, placing it on her stomach. "We're going to need a bigger house." His eyes widened. "Are you? 8 weeks? I wanted to be sure before I told you." For a moment, he just stared at her. Then his face broke into the most beautiful smile she'd ever seen. He lifted her off her feet, spinning her around just as he had with Nora, both of them laughing and crying at the same time. "I love you," he whispered against her hair. "I love you so much it terrifies me." "Good," she said, kissing him deeply. "Be terrified. It means you have something worth losing." Upstairs, Nora was singing off-key in the bathtub, her voice carrying through the old house like a blessing. Outside, the sun was setting over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. They'd carried each other across more rivers than she could count. Now, finally, they were home. The wedding was small, held in the garden behind their house, on a crisp October morning. Nora, now 8 and fiercely protective of her growing family, served as maid of honor. She'd insisted on wearing cowboy boots. With her dress, because princesses need to be practical, Mama Kess. Caspian stood under the oak tree they'd planted together, his hands shaking slightly as he watched Kestrel walk toward him. She wore her mother's dress, altered to accommodate. the gentle swell of her 7-month pregnancy. Her hair was crowned with wildflowers Nora had picked that morning, and her eyes held the same fierce joy that had drawn him to her in that cabin 3 years ago. "You clean up nice," she said when she reached him, her voice thick with emotion. "Look like a dream," he replied, taking her hands. "It's like something I was never brave enough to hope for." The ceremony was officiated by Judge Patricia Hendricks, one of the few members of the judicial system who'd emerged from the syndicate trials with her reputation intact. She'd sentenced more than 40 people to life in prison based on their testimony, and she'd become something of a friend in the process. "Marriage," she said, her voice carrying across the small gathering of friends and colleagues, "is not about finding your other half. It's about two whole people choosing to become more together than they could be apart." "Kestrel and Caspian, you've already proven that love can survive the darkest circumstances. Today you're promising to nurture it in the light." They exchanged rings, simple bands engraved with coordinates. The latitude and longitude of the river where they'd met, where he'd carried her to safety, and she'd begun carrying his secrets toward redemption. "I promise," Kestrel said, her voice clear and strong, "to love you not despite your past, but because of how you've chosen to change. To build a family with you that honors those we've lost. To be your partner in all things, in darkness and in light." "I promise," Caspian replied, tears streaming down his face, "to spend every day proving worthy of your love. To protect what we've built without becoming what I once was. To be the man Nora believes I am, the father our child deserves, the husband who carries you across whatever rivers lie ahead." When they kissed, sealing their vows, Nora cheered so loudly that the neighbor's dog started barking. Everyone laughed, the sound mixing with the autumn wind and the rustle of falling leaves. The reception was held in the same garden. Fairy lights strung between the trees, and a playlist that included everything from classical to country to the Disney songs Nora insisted upon. Caspian's former handler, now working for the good guys, gave a speech about second chances. Agent Morrison presented them with a commendation from the director of the FBI. But the moment that mattered most came when Nora stood on a chair and tapped her juice glass with a spoon. "I have something to say," she announced, her voice carrying the confidence of a child who'd never doubted she was loved. "Before Mama Kess and Uncle Kaz got married, I was scared they might not want me anymore when the baby comes. But Uncle Kaz promised that families don't work that way. Said love doesn't divide, it multiplies. And he taught me that sometimes. The best families are the ones you choose." She paused, looking directly at Caspian. "He also told me about my birth mommy, and how she was brave like Mama Kess, and how she loved me so much she made sure I'd be safe. And he said he was sorry for what happened to her and that he'd spend his whole life making sure I knew how special she was." The garden was completely silent except for the sound of several people crying. "So I just wanted to say thank you," Nora continued, "for choosing me, for choosing each other, for making our family, and for showing me that love is stronger than anything scary in the world." She raised her glass. "To Mama Kess and Uncle Kaz, and to baby brother or sister who's coming soon." The toast was echoed by every voice in the garden, as glasses clinked, and laughter resumed. Caspian pulled both his girls close. One hand on Nora's head, the other on Kestrel's belly where their son was growing strong and healthy. "Thank you," he whispered to Kestrel, "for saving me, for choosing me, for showing me that redemption is possible." "Thank you," she replied, "for carrying me across the river, for proving that love can bloom in the darkest places, for becoming the man I knew you could be." That night, after the guests had gone home and Nora was asleep in her room, they sat on the porch swing, Kestrel's head on Caspian's shoulder, watching the stars appear one by one in the clear mountain sky. "Any regrets?" she asked. "About us?" "Never." He pressed a kiss to her temple. "About the path that led us here. I can't regret it anymore. It brought me to you. Even Luna, she led me to you, and you led me to Nora. And together we're making something beautiful from the ashes of something terrible." He took her hand, their wedding rings catching the starlight. "I think she would approve. I think she would too." They sat in comfortable silence, two people who'd found each other in the darkness and chosen to walk toward the light. Behind them, their house glowed with warm yellow light. Above them, the stars bore witness to their love. And in the distance, the river that had brought them together continued its eternal journey toward the sea. Some love stories begin with a chance meeting. Others start with a single glance across a crowded room. But theirs had begun with desperate flight and deadly secrets, with a choice to trust when trust seemed impossible. With the decision to love when love seemed like the most dangerous thing of all, he had carried her across the river. She had carried his secrets into the light, and together they had built something extraordinary from the wreckage of their broken past, a family. A future, a love that would endure whatever rivers lay ahead. The end was just the beginning.